Hey everybody, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Bostonsstraightshooters. I'm your host for this evening, Steve, aka Negative Ned. Frank is away on business, so we'll miss him. This is the show where we talk about the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox. We'll get you all caught up to date, and we're going to get this show started. Bear with me while I post a link, and we're going to start with the Bruins. There is a little bit of news I saw from them that I want to touch base on, even though it's really quiet and training camp doesn't start for probably another month or so. I think it's important to get this out. I saw something where somebody, I don't remember who it was, writer, mentioned something about putting either Corpusalo or putting DiPietro on waivers and running the risk of having him slip through. So they thought that they might actually waive Corpusalo or trade him before the season starts so they don't lose DiPietro. I don't know how that's going to work or if it's going to work, but I'm still kind of hoping that they do something and they don't lose DiPietro because he's the next up-and-coming young guy, and you're going to want to keep him. That's my preference. My preference is that they keep DiPietro somehow and get rid of Corpusalo. There's no. It'll be typical Bruins if they try to slip him through waivers and send him to Providence. DiPietro, that's a mistake. And again, we mentioned this before. I'm surprised he's not signed for more money. He's only getting $875,000 or whatever it is on a 1-year deal. I don't like that, but as I like to say when I get overruled, Mr. Gambini. It's a My Cousin Vinny reference for those of you that don't know. So there's that, and then there's another rumor I saw that I'm just going to say out. This can't happen. I don't want this. There's a rumor about the Bruins getting Danton Heinen back here from Vancouver. Huge no. He doesn't help. He can't fit in the top six. He's just another, a third line grinder. And they already have a whole bunch of them guys. We touched on it before. Yeah, he got 17 goals a couple of years ago. I don't know what he had last year. I didn't look. But whatever it is, it's not going to be enough. I'm not willing to trade or move somebody like Pavel Zacha for Danton Heinen. That does nothing for me. I am totally against this. I'm not a fan, and I don't want to see it. Danny says no on Heinen. I mean, we're in agreement. I mean, we've already had him twice already. Do we really have to go from a third time? I don't see what the attraction is. And I hope that rumor is false completely because there's no need to bring him back. He doesn't fit what they need. He's not a 30-goal scorer. So waste of space. And you know what? Bringing him back would be definitely typical Bruins. And as I call them, the Band-Aid Bruins. They put Band-Aids on everything. They don't actually heal the wound the way they're supposed to. So I just wanted to mention that little tidbit there. That anybody that's looking for Danton Heinen to come back here, out, no. All right, I'm going to move on from that. The Bruins they're not playing and there's nothing going on, so we're going to move on. I'm going to move on to the Celtics. The GM, as I call him now, Bombshell Brad Stevens, made another trade the other day. He traded the recently acquired George Niang to Utah along with 2 second-round draft picks in exchange for rookie shooting guard R.J. Luis Jr. He was undrafted. He got signed by Utah. Mason McTavish. All right, I don't know who that is, Danny, so I'll have to circle back on that. Maybe we'll look at that for next week's show. Shooting guard R.J. Luis Jr., he was the Big East Player of the Year in 2025. and another young guy. I think he's 22. So it's obvious that they're going to try to keep still jacking up threes, the Celtics. I don't know if this guy can shoot threes or not, but last year he averaged 18.7 rebounds and 2 assists for St. John's. And, he was one of them. He obviously Big East Player of the Year. You know what? They got nothing to lose by grabbing him. I mean, he was undrafted before. And they also made another deal. The Celtics, they signed power forward Chris Boucher to a 1-year, $3.3 million deal. He's 32 years old. 17 minutes a game last year. He averaged 10 points and 4.5 rebounds. He previously won championships with Golden State in 2018 and Toronto in 2019, where he has been for the last 7 years. He's only played 50 games each of the last 2 years. So I would call him like Al Horford light, maybe. I don't think he's a center. He's a forward or power forward. But he's younger than Horford. And if he can give you, 10, 12 points and 6, 8 rebounds, and mix in with Neemias Queta and Luka Garza and Xavier Tillman and Amari Williams, the other guys that they have on the roster at center, should be okay. So I kind of like that move. They've been looking for big guys. You can never have enough of them. And there may be more moves to come. They definitely need somebody else. I did see earlier, and I don't know how true this is, that Al Horford is close to signing with the Golden State Warriors. Again, I don't know the source or how good the reporting is or the rumor, but he's definitely not coming back to the Celtics. He makes too much money. They can't afford to put $20 million on him. So those moves there put the Celtics $6 million below the second apron, and the second apron of the luxury tax, and $5.4 million above the first apron, and they're about $13.4 million away from being out of the luxury tax completely. So there's still a lot of talk about them moving Anthony Simons, who they traded for earlier, and he makes $27 million. So I would not be surprised if there was another deal and he was part of it to get them under the luxury tax totally, especially in a year where you don't have Jason Tatum. So stay tuned. More moves to come, I'm guessing. Bombshell Brad, that's my nickname for him. We had traded Danny before. I got Bombshell Brad because some of these trades are bombshells. You don't see them coming. So I just wanted to mention that. I really wish Frank was here because he could expound more. Whether this guy's going to fit Chris Boucher, whether he's going to fit what the Celtics need or, his role. And look, there was some mention about some other guy, Love. What the hell is the guy's first name? I forget his last name. I forget his first name now. Love. He used to be on Cleveland. And there was some talk about bringing him in here. And I'm like, no, he's like 37 years old, 38 years old. They did that already with Blake Griffin. No, they don't need that kind of guy. I kind of like this move a little better. He's a little younger. And, he's experienced and he's got titles in his back pocket. And so that's big for a team that's, trying to get back there. And again, it's way too soon to tell. No one's expecting the Celtics to go back to the championship or the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever. But, I think they can make the playoffs as long as, everybody's healthy. They should be able to. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. All right. We're going to move on now, and we're going to talk about the Patriots. Patriots are still in training camp. They had joint practice today with the Washington Commanders. I guess it got pretty heated. I'll get to that. Shortly. I do want to say that from everything I heard, and the commentary I've seen is that the Patriots got the better of the Commanders for the most part overall in the practice, which is encouraging. And before, well, I'll get to this after, I guess. The writers, I grabbed some quotes from them. Patriots had the slider upper hand. Good day for May and his receivers. There was a tipped INT interception late in the practice, and I can't stand those. And it doesn't matter if we tip them. The worst ones are when our receivers tip them and they go to the other guys. I freaking hate that. It drives me nuts. This one apparently went off one of the Washington defenders and got tipped and got picked off. So unfortunately, not a completely clean practice for Drake May, but he was good overall, and the receivers were good overall. So it's encouraging that they're picking up the offense and they're getting better. Let's see. Not the ending the Patriots wanted, but a really positive day overall. May was great for the majority of practice. The O-line held up okay, and the defense was solid. That was another quote. And somebody else wrote, May went throw to throw with Jaden Daniels. That's definitely encouraging. Too many games last year. The opponent, they overpowered the Patriots offensively, and the Patriots, they would shoot blanks or, they would sputter and stall out. And, the offense was definitely better with Drake May in it versus Jacoby Brissett. Don't get me wrong, but they still didn't average points wise what they need to or needed to last year. And we've talked on here a number of times already. I think they need to be in the 20 to 24 point range minimum all year long. They can't have games 10-6, 13-7, whatever. They won't win games like that. They gotta be able to put points on the board. We've been talking about it. I'm happy that Josh McDaniels is back. I'm glad that they're resembling some form of offense like they used to. And again, no one's going to compare Drake May to Tom Brady. Just squash all that stuff. But can he lead the charge? Can he be better than he was last year? Can he, minimize the turnovers? And can these guys move the ball? It looks like they've been able to move the ball most of the camp. I would say, the guy I hear about the most is Pop Douglas. So they got to pray he can stay healthy. He would be obviously, Wes Welker 2.0 or Edelman 2.0 in the slot there. And so it's huge for him to stay healthy. Other guys that showed out pretty good today, Mac Hollins, who the Patriots signed from Buffalo. He had a touchdown today, I believe. I'll get to that in a minute. But, I don't think that Stephon Diggs participated in the practice, which is really not in the scrimmage, and really not a surprise, in my opinion. I mean, they got to do whatever they can to protect him and keep him healthy so he's ready for week 1. So no shock there. Drake May finished 14 of 20 with 2 drops, 3 touchdowns, a scramble TD, an INT, a sack, and his touchdowns went to Hunter Henry. Whoa, dude, what are you trying to do? Excuse me, the team mascot's trying to climb on my back over here. What are you doing? My cat is trying to, I don't know where he's trying to go, but he's trying to climb on me. And his claws hurt, to say the least. All right, what are you trying to do over here? Let's move this over. All right. There he goes. All right, he's out of the way. Sorry about that. I apologize for the inconvenience there. All right. Anyway, I was saying his touchdowns went to Hunter Henry, the tight end, Hollins, and Keyshawn Butte. And I would say a pleasant surprise would be Butte because he was on the bubble of getting cut, I think. There was some talk early on about whether he would make the roster or not. I'm thinking he's going to make it. He's been playing pretty good all camp, and if he could do anything more than what he's done previously, and more than what Javon Baker and Jalen Polk were meant to be brought here last year, it's a huge bonus. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing him. He's been good. Also, Josh Dobbs was 17 of 20 with 4 touchdowns and 2 sacks. That's pretty good for a second unit. Again, he's not going to be the second coming of like Frank Reich from the Buffalo Bills back in the day. And I'm showing my age quite a bit here. But, he should be a serviceable backup, and he should be way better than Jacoby Brissett. And again, no knock on Jacoby Brissett. I was happy when they signed him. He did what he was supposed to do, mentored Drake May, show him how to be a professional, be a leader, blah, blah, whatever. But he's not good enough to start, and he's not good enough to back up on this particular team. He needs to go to a contending team and be on a team that, doesn't really need him. That's where he needs to go. That aside, I'll read some more comments that I got wind of here. Says the Patriots offense looked very sharp against the Commanders defense, especially in the red zone. For team periods, I already gave you the stats, so I'm not going to do that again. Travion Henderson had a drop and a touchdown. So that's a guy. I'll say this now, even though we're going to touch on the game tomorrow night. That's a guy I'm looking for big things from. They haven't had a third down back in a while. We've mentioned it on here. I think getting him was huge for them. They have an outlet guy now, and they actually have 2. If you include Gibson, he was very good coming out of the backfield last year as a pass catcher. So I'm excited to see Henderson. Just from the little bit of film we saw on him, he's got breakaway speed, and also he can block. So he can pick up blitzes, and that's huge. That's another area that I think has been weak over the last couple of years. For as much as Frank has been on here and talking about them getting 12 wins and whatnot, I'll give a little bit of positive Pete, and I'll give Travion Henderson some love, and say that I'm looking forward to him having a pretty big year. I don't know if he'll get Rookie of the Year because he won't start, but I think he'll be a significant cog in the Patriots offense, and he's going to be a big factor in whether or not they're successful or not, and how many games they win, because they just haven't had a guy like this in a while. And so that's a guy I'm really looking forward to. If I had to pick one thing I'm looking forward to this season, it would be him. Some other comments from the practice. Will Campbell, rookie left tackle. All the scuttlebutt about him, and his arms being too short from the sports radio guys and all this other nonsense. Says here he mostly held his own. He played very well in the 11-on-11s, including a big block on old friend Dietrich Wise, former Patriot, to spring Henderson on a big run. And he didn't give up a pressure from the periods that this writer saw. It doesn't mean it wasn't clean in the one-on-one reps. It was a mixed bag against Dietrich Wise. I guess he, won a couple and lost a couple. Got beat on a swim move or whatever. But again, to be expected. He's not going to be perfect. The question is, can he be better than the guys they had over there last year? I still say yes, especially in the run game. The pass game, look, they don't have another option. And so, as I mentioned last week, and I kind of beat it to death, so I'm not going to do that here again, but they need him to play like a number one guy. they need him to be better than the guys they had last year, and they need him not to get hurt. And so they're asking a lot from him, and they have to give it to him because they don't have. If you look at their depth chart, they don't have a number 2 listed for left tackle, and it's a mixed bag of guys just mixing in there. And I don't know what they're going to put over there. Caden Wallace, City So. I have no clue, but that's a guy to watch. Obviously, we're going to be watching him all year long, and we'll have to see what happens. Some more comments. Let's see. All right, let's get to the. I guess there were 2 scuffles during the practice. One of them got broken up pretty quickly. It was minor, but in the second one, Mike Vrabel jumped in and got a cut and got bloodied up, and so a lot of scuttlebutt about him jumping in there and the players liking it, and some comments from Drake May was like, this is what we're trying to build. Starts with the coach. Bring it every day. Take no crap on the field. Yeah, I mean, that's the way Vrabel played. I think he still thinks he's playing. Somebody wrote that they wonder if it's fair to if they think that Vrabel is happy with the skirmish. Typically, those kind of fights are frowned upon. Coach Mike played ref. Yeah, he was trying to play ref all right, except he's not supposed to get cut. Danny, he's he jumped in the pile there. Typically, that doesn't happen, and I can't imagine Belichick jumping in a pile. He definitely frowns upon that stuff. If anybody remembers a couple years ago when they had the joint practice with Carolina, and I want to say it was Kendrick Bourne got into a fight, and Belichick wasn't happy, and he wound up in the doghouse. So typically, the coaches don't like that stuff. I get you trying to build the culture and whatnot. My 2 cents on it is he shouldn't be doing that. He shouldn't be jumping in. He's supposed to be setting the example. I guarantee you, if there's a scuffle like that during a game and our guy gets the only 15-yard penalty and costs us in any way, shape, or form, for a fact he's going to rip the guy a new one. So I get the rah-rah stuff and, trying to build the culture and jumping in and being with the guys, but not in this case. I don't know what he thought he was trying to do, but you can't have a do as I say, not as I do. So he can't be jumping in the pile and then, one of your players goes during a game and then does it and gets a penalty and you might lose the game and then rip him or bench him or whatever. I mean, it's not right. So, and I know he's not the only one that has that kind of, hard ass attitude. I'm sure somebody like Jim Harbaugh has that. I mean, there's some the Harbaugh brothers, maybe Mike Tomlin too. I mean, there's some guys that, that are like that, they want to rally the troops. I get it. But, I just wonder what's going to happen in a game and that happens and you rip the guy, what the locker room is going to be looking at when that happens. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Game tomorrow night, first preseason game. I can't say it every year. Can't believe football's here. We're starting, and everybody's excited. Some more commentary that I saw and heard is that the fans here for the first time. The fans at the stadium for the first time made it feel like the old days when Brady and Belichick were here. Really excited. And that's good. You know, I know that preseason games don't really mean anything. Leave that alone, you. Such a scorch. Go. So, look, we don't even know who's playing. I know Vrabel said that everybody who's healthy will be available to play, but there's a lot of debate about whether Drake May should play. I don't think it's necessary myself, but he might feel otherwise. I mean, there's no way anymore to figure out what they're going to do because there's only 3 games now. Before, it used to be, the starters might play 1 or 2 series in the first game and the same thing in the second game. And then in the third game, they would play like 2 or 3 quarters, right? Depending upon how good or bad they were playing. I remember one year they were playing poorly and Belichick kept them out there, for a while. I want to say into the fourth quarter. I think it was against San Francisco. So, and that was with Tom Brady. So, anything can happen. But usually, in this particular case, if I had to guess, I would say the game number 2 is where the potential starters would get more work, like a half. That's my guess. But nonetheless, from what I've heard, the defense looks like it could be a top 10 defense. I know Frank said top 3 or top 5. I think he's overly optimistic. I think you just need to dial it back a half a smidge. They're definitely going to be better than they were last year, and they should be with the signings they made and the guys they added, and getting Christian Barmore back healthy. That's huge. Hopefully he doesn't go down again. Definitely noticed, especially against the run, they really had a tough time. So hopefully he'll stay healthy, and their front 7 will do a number on opposing offenses. They definitely. I like the fact that they're being more aggressive. They definitely need to generate more pressure. They got stomped a lot last year. Couldn't stop drives. So look, still early. We got to weed out who's staying and who's going. I promised last week I would find out when the cut down days are. I do have that information here if you give me half a second. And I did not realize that it's actually different this year. And I think this is the first year they're doing this. They used to have cut down days where the roster would have to get down to 90 or whatever, and then it would have to get down to 75, and then it would have to get down to another number. They're not doing that this year. They actually have one cut down day, and it's August 27th at the end of the preseason. Actually, they did this last year, so I apologize. I didn't realize they did this last year. I missed it. Teams can make cuts at any time up to the deadline, so they can still cut guys along the way at any point. And as long as they get to 53 by the 27th, then they'll be all set. So, usually the first game, there's 90 guys there, and they put a lot of scrubs in, and you don't get to see anybody worth looking at usually. I will say this though, another guy I'm curious to look at is Efton Chisholm, who we mentioned on here as an undrafted guy who's got speed and who was early in camp kind of lighting it up in the Edelman role, coming in as a slot guy and a punt returner and a special teams, kick returner type guy. I'm still curious to see if he's going to make the team. I want to see what he looks like in game action. That's a case of a guy that you would hope that if he doesn't make the actual roster, they could slip him through to the practice squad. But I actually hope he makes the roster. They do need somebody to return punts. I don't know who that would be today. I'd have to look at who they had last year. But the guys I don't want doing it would be like Pop Douglas, Boutte, the receivers they have. I don't want any of the active guys returning punts and kickoffs. That's a recipe for disaster for those guys. So we need to keep those guys healthy. That being said, go Patriots. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night, even though it's it's really a nothing game, but you know, my poor wife dreads football season, but it's here and there's nothing I can do about it. So we are ready to roll. And with that being said, we're going to move on now to the Red Sox. The Red Sox, where are you? There you are. The Red Sox went on another hot streak before losing yesterday. They had won 7 games in a row. So they won 10 games in a row. Then they had a little blip. They lost 4 out of 6. And then they got back on the wagon and won 7 in a row, which I did not see. I did not see it coming. Negative Ned being negative Ned. No way, no how. I did not see it. But again, encouraging. And included in that 7-game win streak was a sweep of the first place Houston Astros. And they're a good team. So, kudos to them. I give them a ton of credit for pulling that off, because that's not easy to sweep a team like that. A team that's given you fits over the last probably 5 years. And so put on my 49er slippers. Yeah, that's an inside joke there I'm not going to get into. But speaking of Danny, I want to give a shout out to my friend and group member Danny Cannell. Anybody here that's been watching at all knows that I cannot stand the stupid streaming nonsense. I hate it. It drives me crazy. And MLB has had a number of these games on different platforms. They had it on Apple Plus. They had it on, probably YouTube, and they had it on Roku this past weekend. And Danny was nice enough to put on his outdoor television and put the Roku game on so we could see it. So thank you, Danny. I really appreciate that. So that we could watch the game Sunday. Because, if I was here, I think I do have Roku on my TV, but still, just the act of like trying to find it and also the happy horse bleep. I just can't stand it. And so I'm thankful that we were able to watch the game Sunday. That game, Red Sox won. There was a little bit of a brouhaha. The Astros were not happy. They thought Trevor Story, I think, at second base was like stealing signs or something. And, now that the Red Sox have been caught cheating and Alex Cora got suspended, and he was part of the Houston thing with the trash can banging nonsense. This has happened a number of times already in games. Go back to Cleveland when the Red Sox played, when Terry Francona, and they had their young ace guy pitching, and the Red Sox lit him up. And, there was some scuttlebutt about, the Red Sox cheating. And it turns out the guy was tipping his pitches. The Red Sox weren't doing anything wrong. And the stealing signs thing, that's been going on forever. I mean, it was going on way before I was born. And I remember watching it as a kid and still watching it now. Nobody makes a fuss about it anymore. It's not against the rules. And, this is a case where I can guarantee you, if Houston was stealing the signs and lighting up Crochet or whoever, Giolito, whatever, and they were winning the game, they wouldn't say a freaking peep. None of the teams that are doing the act of cheating don't say a freaking word until it happens to them and they get pissed off because they got bagged and they got beat. And so, I mean, fair is fair. And and I'm not going to get into another whole tangent about the Spygate thing with the Patriots, but that whole thing happened because Eric Mangini, who used to be on the Patriots staff, ratted out Belichick because he couldn't beat him. When all the teams were doing the same thing, they were all filming each other or whatever. It wasn't against the rules then. Nobody said a word. And so he had to go drop it. And so now these guys are going to do the same thing. And so now every time the Red Sox win, it's going to be because they were caught stealing signs, or the guy was tipping his pitches. And look, if the guy's tipping his pitches, this happened because I was watching the game when it happened. Duran got a hit or something, and he went over to William Abreu, who was standing near the on-deck circle, and whispered something to him, right? And then he got a hit, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, he got a hit too. And well, what? You're not supposed to help your teammates? What do you think they do in the dugout? You praise them on one hand for helping each other, and then when they do, it's like, oh, that's taboo. That's against the rules. That's they're cheating. Like, no. Cheating is when you're banging on a freaking trash can. Cheating is when you have the Apple Watch in the dugout and you got the camera out in center field, and that, you know what I mean? That stuff is cheating. They got caught. The Red Sox, look, they've been caught a couple times, but I just go back to the old Al Davis, who owned the Raiders and coached, and his famous line is, "If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying." So, listen, I'm not saying it's okay to cheat, because it's not. But if it's not against the rules and you're allowed to do it, it ain't cheating. And if they're doing it better than you, you can't get mad. Too freaking bad. I don't feel sorry for you. You're just mad because they beat you to the punch. So, put a sock in it. Do better. Beat them. And they'll have an opportunity. The Red Sox, they will have an opportunity. Houston will coming up. The Red Sox go to San Diego for 3 games over the weekend, and then they go to Houston after that. So they get a chance to get revenge or whatever you want to call it. And so figure it out. I don't feel sorry for you. Yeah, they wouldn't feel sorry for us. I mean, we've been getting our brains beaten for 4 years here. No one has felt sorry for the Red Sox for finishing in last place the last 3 years or whatever it is. So, I don't feel sorry for you. Tough. You don't like it, do something about it. But I do want to talk about, the way they've been playing. They've been getting much better pitching. I think, Giolito, his last 2 outings, he pitched 6 innings, he had 1 run, and then his last outing, 2 outings ago, 8 innings, 1 run. I mean, that's what they need. Crochet, 6 innings versus the Cubs, 6 innings versus the Dodgers, 7 innings versus KC. Brian Bayo, 7 innings, 2 starts ago, 6 innings the day before, I think. That's good, because you got to save the bullpen. They're getting burned out, and these guys can consistently go 6 innings. That's huge. I mean, last year they weren't even getting through 4 or 5 innings, and it was killing them. And I'm not saying these guys are world beaters. I've harped on both Giolito and Bayo that they're not that great. They're not really number 2 or number 3 guys. I mean, Bayo's probably a number 4 or 5 at best. Giolito's probably a 3. But these guys are pitching pretty big. And part of the reason that they would be a 3 or a 4 or 5, in my opinion, is Walker Buehler is the guy that should be the 2, and he's the one that's crapping the bed. And so it's unfortunate that he can't get to the 5th inning. He hasn't gotten to the 5th inning in a few starts now. I want to say like 4 of his last 6 starts, he's pitched less than 5 innings. He's in the 4th inning, can't get out of it. So he can't get through the 5th inning, and that's not good. And ironically, he's pitching. I think it's tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Give me a second here. Did I put it? Oh, I didn't put it here. I think he's pitching tomorrow against former Red Sox pitcher Nick Pivetta. So Nick Pivetta turned down $21 million from the Red Sox to become a free agent. I forget what he signed for with the Padres. I think it was less, but he's been one of their best pitchers. He's like 11-4 or something with like a 2.6 something ERA. I forget what he's got exactly, but he couldn't do that here. And so I was happy when he left. I was like, fine, we didn't need him anyway. He stinks. And then we get Buehler, and I thought Buehler was going to be better, but Buehler is actually almost exactly like Pivetta. Marginal, 4 or 5 inning guy, an occasional 6-7 inning start, and making $21 million. And this is going to be a case where it might be, why can't we get guys like this? So my hope is that Walker Buehler starts getting better and gives them more because they need him. With Tanner Houck being out for the year now with Tommy John surgery, Cutter Crawford's out for the year. Their depth that they got is not that good. You got Richard Fitz and you got Cooper Criswell. Hunter Dobbins got lost for the year too. So look, their depth is taking a hit. And the other guy they traded for at the deadline, Dustin May, he went 3 2/3 yesterday and gave up 3 runs. Not good as your number 5 guy. So listen, they got to get more out of these guys. They got to get more out of Buehler and May. I don't know. I railed last week on the trade deadline. I'm not doing that again here. There's no need for that. I'm not gonna go off on the guy after one start. But if we're 5 starts in, let's say 3 or 4 total. By the end of this month, if he's got 4 starts and he can't get through the 4th inning or the 5th inning, you might have to put him in the pen or send him to Worcester and take your lumps with Richard Fitz or, I'd prefer Cooper Criswell at this point. Richard Fitz, I've seen enough of him. He has like 1 good start and 2 bad ones, 1 good start, 2 bad. It's not good enough. Let him pitch down there. Give me Cooper Criswell. At least I know what I'm getting. He's a little better and more consistent, I think, than Richard Fitz. I would prefer that. And I will say this too. The hitting has been better. The defense has been better. They are making errors, but they're not making the kind of errors that were killing them earlier in the year. So yeah, there's been some errors here and there, but not the kind that have been hurting them previously. They are striking out less too. I wonder if there's just been a complete philosophical change amongst the coaching staff where Alex Cora finally, said, we're not doing the drive line nonsense anymore. And if you guys are going to complain about the defense being bad, then we're going to do things the way I want to do them. And you guys are going to keep quiet. And honestly, that's the only difference that I could see, because if he just let them continue to do things the way they were doing them, I don't think they'd be winning these games. I really don't. You can see their approach to the plate's better and different. They're line driving the ball. They're getting hits with guys on base. They're moving runners along. They weren't doing that in the first 2 months, 2.5 months. They weren't. And this new crap about the launch angle and the exit velocity and all these, metrics now that I can't stand. I think they just finally said, we're not doing this. You want us to teach the players how to play defense and up here, because we're not focusing on the fundamentals in AAA and AA like we're supposed to. I've been hearing this on the radio for weeks, that down in the minors, that's not a thing. They don't teach defense the way that it used to be taught and have these guys completely ready to be major leaguers. All their focus is all on hitting, and it's all on launch angle and whatever. So not only are you rushing these guys up here at 21, 22 years old, you're not bringing up complete players anymore. That's a recipe for disaster. I'm sorry. I don't know whose brainchild that is, but you need to be taken to the woodshed. That's all I can say. But kudos to them for figuring out whatever it is that they're doing and making it better. They've won 14 of their last 15 at Fenway, and they're 39-21 at Fenway this year, which is the first time in probably 4 years that they've actually had a winning record or anything close to it. Last year they were terrible at home. The year before that too. And as we mentioned before when Frank was on, that the other teams, the visiting teams, had more fans or just as many fans as the Red Sox. I go back to last year when they played Toronto, and half the stadium was Blue Jay fans, and the other half was, when they played the Dodgers, there was a bunch of Dodgers fans. So, it's not a good look. And so, I'm happy that Fenway is starting to feel like a home field advantage now again. That's good. It's good to see. And they're going to need that going forward if they're going to make the playoffs. And miraculously, the Yankees are falling like a rock. They're in third place now. The Red Sox overtook them. They're in second place. They're 4 games behind Toronto. And they're first in the wild card by 2.5 games. And if you'd have told me in August after the trade deadline the Red Sox would be in second place and first in the wild card, I would have thought you were crazy. Because I still have them at 88 wins and not making the playoffs. And so, I'm 100% sure Frank will be like, are you serious? They're playing unbelievable. And look, they're playing unbelievable since Roman Anthony got called up. They're playing at like a 628 winning clip. I think their record through 43 games, the last time I looked, they were like 27-16 or something with him in the lineup. So, listen, kudos to them. He's doing a good job. And I'm actually going to talk about some news regarding Roman Anthony. Yesterday signed an 8-year, $130 million deal. There's incentives that could push the deal to $230 million. I don't have all those particulars in front of me, but what I do have is he got a $5 million signing bonus. His salary for 2026 is $2 million. In 27, it's $4 million. In 28, it's $8 million. In 29, it's $15 million. In 2030, it's $19 million. In 2031, it's $23 million. In 2032, it's $25 million. And in 2033, it's $29 million. And there's a club option for 2034 for $30 million. So they structured this. To their liking, obviously, and you better hope that in 2032 or 2033, that when he's making $29-30 million a year, that he doesn't crop out. I don't think he will. I think he's a good player. He's definitely the future. Look, they're locking guys up. And I've mentioned this before on here, and people know already. They're modeling themselves after Atlanta. Atlanta has done a bunch of this. They've signed a whole slew of their young guys early, locked them all up. And so right now, if you look at what they did with, you got Roman Anthony locked up. You got Brian Bayo, 6 years, $54 million. You got Christian Campbell, the second baseman, 8 years, $60 million, sorry, which might be premature because they had to send him back to Worcester. So, after he won Rookie of the Month for April, he took a nosedive, and now he's in Worcester. For the Red Sox sake, you better hope that he can turn that around and become a $60 million ball player and not a $6 ball player. Ceddanne Raphael, 8 years, $50 million. They signed him. I really like him a lot. I'm not gonna say he's the second coming of Mookie Betts, but he has that type of athleticism. He's a speed demon in center field, and he's pretty good at second base. I'll tell you what, he's been better than the other bums they've been putting there. And I would not be upset at all if you had Roman Anthony in the outfield, in left field with Duran in center, and Willie Abreu in right, and Raphael at second base for the rest of the year. I would be fine with that. That wouldn't bother me one bit. And then obviously they signed Garrett Crochet, 6 years, $170 million. And so, look, they've got a young core now. These guys are all in their early 20s. So I gotta give the Red Sox a half an ounce of credit. I mean, people are gonna look at like, well, they're too cheap. And they are. I'll kill them for being cheap. But we shoot straight. And so I have to give Craig Breslow a half an ounce of credit for getting Anthony signed and getting these signings done, and pulling off the Crochet trade. That's a That's probably one of the best. That's the best move he's made since he's been here, is getting Garrett Crochet. So I have to give him a half an ounce of credit for that. As much as it pains me to do so, I will give credit where credit is due. Look, I did the same thing with Don Sweeney when he did the thing 2 years ago at the deadline. I gave him an A+. I'm not quite ready to give Breslow an A+ because he still whiffed at the deadline, in my opinion. Yeah, they got a starting pitcher and they got a reliever, but they didn't get the number 2 impact starter that they needed to get for whatever the reason. I heard Sam Kennedy today talking again, laughing as he's making the comments about how hard Breslow was trying to make these deals. And I said it last week. I just wish he'd stop talking because it just sounds like a bunch of BS. I can't stand listening to it. They're trying to fan the flames and put the fire out so they don't get backlash. But, more and more stuff will eventually come out about what was offered, who was offered, what squashed the deal. And maybe the Twins wanted too much. Maybe they wanted Jarren Duran bad enough that it didn't matter how many prospects or which prospects the Red Sox offered, they just weren't going to accept. And so I think there's a chance that, there may be still a deal to be had for Joe Ryan with Duran as part of the package if they want him bad enough. And, I would be happy if they did that. Listen, if Breslow pulls that off and they get him in the off season, I'm fine with that. That's a good move, and I give him credit for it. But if the off season comes, they don't get a legit number 2 starter to help these guys out, then I'll rip them like I always do. That's just what we do, right? So for now, listen, they're giving us something to watch, and finally feels, hopefully this year, like they're not going to tank like they did after the last couple of deadlines. So let's see what happens. I mean, fingers crossed they keep it going and make the playoffs. I just want to see them make the wild card. I'd love to see them win the division. Not sure if that's going to happen or not, but if I had to guess right now, I'd say no. I'd say no, they're not. I still say no. I just feel somewhere along the line something's going to happen and they're going to get derailed. And, I hate to be negative Ned again, but can't help myself. They've been having a way of falling apart. So let's see if they can avoid that this year. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the poll questions. We're going to move on to the poll questions from this past week. And where are they? Here they are right here. All right, speaking of the Red Sox, the Red Sox now just 3 games out of first place. Do you think they will win the division? We had 20% yes and 80% no, so I am not alone. The majority of the folks have spoken, and we all think that they're not going to win the division. I give Toronto a ton of credit from where they came from. They weren't in second place, or they were actually in third place for a while, and now they've been in first place for a while with the Yankees falling apart. And again, that's a team that has had the Red Sox number these last few years, especially at Fenway. And, they just got through wrecking the Colorado Rockies. They beat them. Let me see if I get this right. I want to say they scored 10, 15, and 20 runs in the 3 games at Colorado and whooped the crap out of them. One of them was like, I don't know, 20-1 or something, or 15-1. I forget. But they got guys that can hit, and they got a good team, and they're firing on all cylinders. And I want to say if they're not the best team in the American League, they're second best behind Detroit. And those are 2 teams that both made moves at the deadline to improve themselves, and I think they did more than what the Red Sox did. So they're going to be a handful, both those teams. I'm going to have to look to find out when they play Toronto again next, because I'm curious to see what that's going to look like when they play each other again. All right, moving on. Next poll question. The Patriots are unveiling Tom Brady's statue this Friday night before their first preseason game versus Washington. Do you think it's too soon? We had, yes, he's not even in the Hall of Fame yet, 13%. No, he totally deserves it. Why wait? 87%. I think, great majority of us agree. Get the statue now. Why wait? There's two reasons for that. One is, I would say, Robert Kraft's 85 years old. And Tom Brady's not eligible for the Hall of Fame for probably another 2 years. So my guess is that Bob Kraft wants to see Brady get the statue before he passes on. And you know what, too? There's a whole bunch of people that are like, we got to move on from Tom Brady. Tom Brady had the thing last year with the Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. It's like, all right, listen, I get it. We're hanging on too long or whatever it is, but I agree to a point. All right, let's do this. Let's get the statue. Let him have his day again. Let Bob Kraft see it, and then let Tom move on to dealing with the Raiders and his color commentary on Fox, and move on to the next chapter. There will never be another Tom Brady. It's not going to happen. Even if Drake May is a Hall of Fame quarterback, he won't be Tom Brady Hall of Fame quarterback. He won't be that level, I don't think. But look, it's tough shoes to fill. It's like trying to fill, Dan Marino's shoes or any other Hall of Fame quarterback, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. The list goes on and on. Good luck trying to do that. So I believe the statue ceremony is at 6:00. I don't know if it's televised or not. If it is, I'll watch it. Otherwise, we'll look forward to the Patriots. Now we're going to move on to the predictions. We have next week's. So we have last week's predictions. Let's see. I had 3. I said the Red Sox would lose 4 out of the next 6 because they have a deflated clubhouse because of the trade deadline because they didn't get number 2 starter. Wrong. Wrong again, Ned. Can't get him right. So there's one. Number 2, I said Will Campbell will be better this week. No sacks. Wrong. He did give up some pressures and what would be sacks if there was game action. So that was wrong. And the last one is I said that Cole Strange would get cut. Wrong. He's still here. I still think it's a possibility when they have the cut down at the end. Joe Montana, yeah, I forgot about him, Danny. Thank you. The 2 GOATs. I mean, Brady and Montana. How the hell could I forget him? But yeah, Cole Strange, I think he's still a candidate to get cut. He's still working with the second unit, and he's still moving between center and guard. So I'm thinking if they want to save some money, I mean, they don't have to cut him if they want to have depth. Might not be a bad thing to keep him, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was one of the cuts at the end with Jared Wilson coming on strong. All right, let's get to this week's predictions. All right, I actually have quite a few, Frank. I think this is the most I've had on a show ever. So let's get them through here as I watch the time. We're getting close to the end. Number 1, Red Sox win 4 out of 6. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to say they're going to win 4 out of 6 in these games on the road. Number 2, Walker Buehler craps out tomorrow night, gets sent to the bullpen. This will be the it's too many times that he's just not getting anywhere. I don't know how much rope they're going to give him, but they might have to move him to the pen. Nick Pivetta beats the Red Sox tomorrow. Why can't we get guys like this? Like I said earlier, the former players just have a habit of coming back and haunting us. Number 4, the Patriots will win tomorrow night. I know, Frank, these are not earth-shattering predictions, but these ones are kind of more like fun. I want to see them win tomorrow, so I'm going to say that they're going to do it somehow. And my last prediction for this coming week is that Travion Henderson will get a TD in the game. Again, I'm looking forward to him, and let's see what he can do. And that's it for the predictions. And that's all the time we have. That's it for the show. The name of the show is Bostonsstraightshooters. You can catch us every week. We've been trying to do Wednesday nights, but I've been rescheduling them because there's been no teams playing on Thursdays. So the schedule will get adjusted based on who's playing. We kind of try to do that so that people have a chance to catch everything, and then we're catching up everything all at once and not missing anything. So just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Thanks for voting in the polls. Thanks for the commentary. Be sure to catch us on YouTube, and we'll see you next week. Like, share, and subscribe, and peace out.